Good morning, students. Hope you have completed the Sangam age. We'll start with a new chapter, the age of the Guptas. I know it's very difficult to study in this lockdown. Online is just a new platform for you as well as for me. But I'm trying my best to teach you. That is why I have come up with these type of videos. If you have any problem in this video, please share your views in the group. I will not feel bad, but I'll try to improve myself. So let's study about the Gupta age. All of you have studied in the Mauryan age about Chandragupta Maurya. In the same way, in Guptas also we had two Chandragupta, that is Chandragupta 1 and Chandragupta 2. Don't confuse with both the Chandragupta Maurya and Chandragupta 1 and Chandragupta 2. Chandragupta Maurya was in the Mauryan Empire and Chandragupta 1 and 2 was in the Gupta Empire. Now, how do we come to know about the history of the Guptas? Because there were many written records. Written records are called literary sources and the remains are called archaeological sources. So let's start with the literary source. Literary source of Fine. Who was Fine? Fine was a Chinese pilgrim. He was a Buddhist. When he adopted Buddhism, he followed the rules of Buddha. So when we follow any religious god or goddess, we visit that places. For example, if we are Hindu, we visit Vaishno Devi, we visit Badrinath, we visit Haridwar. There are many different places. But as India was the birthplace of Lord Buddha, and Nalanda University gave education on Buddhism, so Fine visited India during the period of Guptas. He stayed in India for about 5 years, went to different places related with Buddha, that is Bodh Gaya, Nalanda University, and visited different kingdoms. And after he returned back to China, he wrote about the total views, what he saw in India during his visit. So his source gives us a great information about the great true information. Suppose our king's poet writes anything, he will only write in the praise of the king, though the king may be capable or may not be capable. But when a foreigner visits this place and he goes to his country, he will give us information without fear. So Fine was a Chinese pilgrim who visited India on a religious mission, that is, visit the places related with Buddha, where he took birth, where he died, where he gave his first sermon, and these places. During the reign of Chandragupta II, he wrote a good narrative of India, which helps us to study the Gupta Empire. So in his book, he has mentioned each and every aspect of the society, the political situation of the country, what type of life the people live, the standard of living, everything. So his literary source or his writings gives us a true picture of the Gupta Empire. He gave a brief description of administration, that is political, and the religious means what type of religion people followed, what rules and regulations or what kind of processions they took out, followed by the Guptas. Gupta king has a great name in India because they revived Hinduism. Before the Gupta, Mauryas and all, they went for the propagation of Buddhism. But Gupta Empire again tried to get back the glory of Hindus. From Fine's account, we come to know that Magadha was a prosperous country with large towns, teeming with wealthy population. Why? Magadha was in the northern plain of India. And northern plain, the main occupation of the people at that time was agriculture. As there was flow of water and fertile soil, so people preferred to settle in that part of the country. And that part only country is only known as Magadha. And that is, people lived, a large population lived in that part, and they were all wealthy, because when you will do production, that time you will have more wealth. Although the people were wealthy, they led simple life, observing the Buddhist rule of the conduct. Because see, when Ashoka put up principles of Buddhism in the pillars and stones, He did not mention that it is Buddha. He just made the principles as a code of conduct of life. Means what type of life a person should live to be healthy and to lead a better life. In the same way, when Gupta Empire came after Mauryan Empire, the policies of code of conduct was written in different places, and people were still following the rules of Buddhism. So they were Hindu by religion, but they followed the simple policies of Buddhism. People followed the policy of religious tolerance. What do you mean by religious tolerance? Religious tolerance means we have faith in others' religion, we respect other religion. Today also we have religious tolerance. Though we don't celebrate Chhat Puja, but we all visit the river places where people do Chhat Puja. Though we are not Sikh, but we like to go to visit the langar. We like to take part in the processions of the Sikh religion. Though we do not celebrate Holi, many people in our customs, we don't celebrate, but we take part in the Holi. Still today we respect each other's religion and take part. When Durga Puja is there, we don't go that we don't celebrate Durga Puja, so we will not visit the pandal. No, each and every person, either it is a Hindu or a Sikh or a Christian or a Muslim, we all visit places and enjoy the festival. So today also we follow the policy of religious tolerance. The penal code was mild and offences were punished with fines only. Penal code means any punishment which was given was very mild. Mild means less. And offences were punished with fines only. And those who committed crime, they were punished only by giving fines. They were not hanged to death. They were not put behind the bars. They were not given inhuman punishment like cutting off hands, legs, such things. So as the religion says, we should respect each other. They follow the policies of Buddhism, the rule of conduct. That is why the punishment was very simple and the offences were given only fines. Archaeological sources, that is Allahabad pillar inscription. This inscription is also known as Prayag Prashasti. Prayag Prashasti means the inscription means a type of inscriptions which tells us what type of life a person should live and what are the policies Samudragupta followed to bring his kingdom into a powerful one and how to respect his people so that his kingdom becomes a prosperous kingdom. So the inscription is also known as Prayag Prashasti, means all the wars which Samudragupta has fought and the territories which he has won are all mentioned in the Allahabad pillar inscription. The inscription on Allahabad pillar was written in the praise of Samudragupta. It was composed by Harisena, the court poet of Samudragupta. Now here I want to tell you one thing, that as Harisena was a court poet of Samudragupta, means a king's poet, he will not write the negative points of Samudragupta. So we can say that we believe in the inscriptions, but we cannot say that is each and every point is correct. It tells us about the king who were defeated by Samudragupta. It is an example of important epigraphy of the period. What is epigraphy? Epigraphy are the written records issued by the king. Means whatever orders king issued, that time we didn't have pamphlets, we didn't have newspapers. Now how those laws will be passed to the people? They were engraved on rocks and pillars and placed at different places. So the written records of the inscriptions of that time is known as epigraphy. So it is an example of important epigraphy of that period. Political history of the Guptas. Who was the founder of Gupta Empire? See, here again I will compare Mauryan Empire and Gupta Empire. Mauryan Empire's founder was Chandragupta Maurya, but Gupta Empire's founder was Sri Gupta. Sri Gupta was the founder of the Gupta Empire. Chandragupta's reign marked the beginning of the Gupta era. Means Sri Gupta founded it. But after discovering, he did not rule for a long period, or we can say he was not very famous in history because he may not have conquered many kingdoms, or we can say we don't have much record about him, so we don't have much information about him. But Chandragupta, we get information, and through that information, we come to know that he was the first kingdom of the Gupta Empire who tried to make his kingdom very powerful by waging wars and conquering large territories. So Chandragupta's reign marked the beginning of the Gupta Empire. Chandragupta I was succeeded by his son Samudragupta, who was known as the Napoleon Prince of India because of his bravery of generalship. Now, Chandragupta was a very great ruler. He made a big Gupta empire, but his son was no less than him. He was a great general. He tried to conquer the territories of South India and merge with the Gupta Empire. This no other king had done before Samudragupta of North India. So that is why no other northern Indian kings have tried to conquer the southern Indian kingdoms. He was the first king to conquer the territories of South India. That is why he is known as the Napoleon Prince of India, because of his bravery and great generalship, or you can say leadership. Samudragupta defeated many powerful rulers of the southern territories, but he did not annex them. He very well knew that by staying in North India, he will not be able to take care of the South Indian territories, because at that time communication facilities was not very good. So what did he do? He defeated this king, but he gave back their kingdom and told them that you have to pay certain amount as a token to the king's protection. So that is why without much effort, he was able to earn large revenue for his kingdom, and that revenue he utilized for the development of his kingdom by making his army more powerful and giving facility to his people. Samudragupta was succeeded by his son Chandragupta II, who was also known as Chandragupta Vikramaditya. Chandragupta Vikramaditya is known for his justice and bravery. He fought many wars and made a large kingdom. Chandragupta II was also known as Shakari, as he defeated the Shakas and annexed these territories. So, though Samudragupta defeated the southern kingdoms, but he did not annex his territories. But Chandragupta II annexed some of the territories and he defeated the Shakas. That is why he was known as Shakari. Chandragupta II was succeeded by his Kumaragupta and his son Skandagupta. So after Chandragupta II, his son Kumaragupta became the king, and after Kumaragupta, his son Skandagupta became the king. By the end of the 5th century AD, a large number of vassal kings taking advantage of the Gupta dynasty became independent. Means after Skandagupta, the king were not very powerful, or their successors were not very powerful. So that is why when the king is not powerful, the kingdom slowly and steadily will break down into smaller kingdoms. So taking advantage of that Gupta empire, the vassal kings became independent and Gupta empire collapsed. Administration. There are two types of administration. One is central administration and other is provincial. Even today we have two types of administration. Central administration, that is known as the union government, and provincial administration, that is known as the state government. In central government, we have president, prime minister. So in the administration of the Gupta Empire, the central administration was in the hands of the king. So monarchical government means the king was the supreme power. King had control over the whole kingdom. King was the source of all honors and titles and commander-in-chief of the army. Means he had all the honors. He was the last person to make the declaration, and his declaration was final and everybody has to follow it. And all the titles like Maharaja, Dhiraja and others, he was there, and he was the head of the army. All the governments and officers were appointed by the king. He did not take anybody's permission. He can decide, he can consult, but decision was the king's decision to appoint all the government and officers by the king. The Gupta had their councils, who consisted of prince, high officials and feudatories. Now what is council? Council is a group of important members with whom the king consulted before taking any decision, so that his decision can be so perfect that he will not that decision will not bring any demerits to his kingdom. So in that council, he kept prince. Prince means his son, his small brothers. Prince means the king's relatives. High officials means people with good knowledge, scholarly people. Feudatories means in charge of different places. They were also taken into consideration of the council because the king had a vast kingdom. To guide or administer the kingdom, he should know the problem of others. Among the high officers were the Kumaramatyas and Sandhi Vigrapiha, the minister of peace and war. Kumaramatyas were generally the prince of his kingdom, and Sandhi Vigrapika means the minister who was responsible for peace and war. Means whenever a king had a war, any kind of differences between another king, one officer used to go and had a meeting with them, and through that meeting was decided whether there will be a peace between both the kingdom or whether there will be a war. Then Shulkika was a revenue officer, means an officer was appointed to collect money or revenue or tax from the people, like from the traders, from the farmers, from the businessman. The tax was collected. So that is why the officer was known as Shulkika, means shulk dena padta hai, we have to give money. Next comes the provincial administration. The Uparika was the governor of the province. Bhuktis were Uparika, governor of the province. In each state there is a governor. So in each part of the kingdom there was an officer known as the governor, and that governor was named as Uparika. Bhuktis were under the charge of Urorika. Now these Bhuktis, Urorikas, these are the terms which were given to the officers appointed by the king. The Bhuktis were divided to Vaishyas, placed under the charge of Vaishyapatis, means the whole kingdom was divided to small part, and those parts were called Bhuktis. So Bhuktis was under the governor named as Urarika. Then the Bhuktis was divided, means the state was divided to districts, Vaishyas, and those Vaishyas were placed under the charge of the Vaishyapatis. The village administrations was managed by the village headman, today also Pradhan. There were various towns, that is Janapadas, which were administered by a committee of 5 with a head known as Purapala. Now, what is committee? Today we have in towns and cities, we have municipal corporations, municipal committees, because one person can't look after such a big place. So that is a committee of, today we have a committee of 30 members, but at that time as the population was less, area was less, so there was a committee of 5 members who looked after the Janapada, you can say the town, and headman was known as Purapala. Today the headman, we call him mayor. So the committee, one used to look after the sanitation, other revenue, then other constructions of roads. That is why each officer was in charge of a particular thing. There were many educational institutions. This Nalanda University was started by Ashoka, but it flourished during the Gupta period. It was the first educational institution started by Ashoka. It is located at Rajgir in Bihar. This university was established for the research and propagation of Buddhist literature. There are at least 8 colleges in this university dealing with different subjects like Buddhist literature, art, inscription, science, etc. Though Chandragupta, in Ashoka's time, this university was started, but Gupta Empire took care of this university and made all possible work to be flourished with this university. So inside this university, there were 8 colleges dealing with different subjects like Buddhist literature, art, inscription, science, etc. There are about 3 libraries named as Ratna Sagar, Ratna Dodi, and Ratna Ranjak. More than 10,000 students and teachers were there in his university. It was so. Today, if we think 10,000 is very less, but you can see it, at that time, 10,000 was also a huge. And people, students from all over the world came to this university to study. It was a postgraduate institution, and admission in this university was very difficult. Today, to take admission in IIT, it is very difficult. Admission in DU, it's very difficult. So it was of that rank. Only brilliant students were admitted. Students from Korea, Japan, China, and various other countries studied here. It was destroyed by Muhammad bin Bakhtiyar Khilji, a general of Muhammad Ghori. So we can see that all the Indian kings, either in North India and South India, they flourished education, they flourished literary work, they respected the scholarly people. But when the Muslim rule came in India from the time of Muhammad Ghori, destruction started. Now you can understand the history of India. Next is Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta was a very renowned scientist. Today you all know APJ Abdul Kalam, a missile man, C.V. Raman, a physicist. In the same way, Aryabhatta was not less than anybody. He was, you can say, he was the first Indian scientist. He was a great astronomer and a mathematician. Now today when you know about him, you will think that why did he invented so many things that today you all have to learn. But you know, the formula of pi was also discovered by him. He was a great astronomer and mathematician. His two books, famous books, are Aryabhattam and Surya Siddhanta. Aryabhattam tells about the astrological things, and Surya Siddhanta gives you information about the revolution, rotation, lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, each and every information about sun. Today we name European scientists for their discoveries, but before them, thousands of years ago, it was discovered in India. He was the first person to say that Earth moves around the sun. His theory was later on proved by Galileo. So today, if anybody asks who said that Earth goes around the sun, Galileo. But you know, before that, Aryabhatta proved. So we can, that is why the first missile which was sent from India was named as Aryabhatta. He discovered the rule for finding the area of a triangle. So students, please don't blame Aryabhatta. He was only to give you the formula to find the area of a triangle. That is half base into height, S minus square root of S. All the when three sides of a triangle are unequal, then how do you find the big for area of that triangle with the big formula of S? You know, Aryabhatta has given you. So please, I know today you will reject him that why did he produce this formula? Do you have to do maths? But you have to do it. He was the person to find the value of pi. He was the person to explain the reason for lunar eclipse, solar eclipse. Today is 21st of June, and during the time of solar eclipse, I'm making this video to you. So he was the only one who said that sun is fixed and the earth and the moon revolves around it. And that is why lunar and solar eclipse occur when they are in parallel line. He introduced the decimal system and zero. If you would not have found the decimal system, today we would not have been doing decimal system. But please don't blame him. He has done a great work for the development of maths in India. But today we give all the right to the European scientists because they proved it to the world. Next is Kalidas. Kalidas was a great writer and a poet. He is known as the Shakespeare of India. You are learning Merchant of Venice? Who has written it? Shakespeare. So, is he an Indian? No. But in India also we have a Shakespeare. Though he is known as the Shakespeare of India for his great work in poetry and playwriting, but not a single school in India teaches the novel of Kalidas. Isn't it, are we not why don't we propagate Swadeshi by not teaching Shakespeare and teaching Kalidas novel? Let's start. Let's see what happens. His four poetic works are Ritu Samhara, Raghuvanshama, Meghduta, and Kumara Sambhava. His three dramatic works are Vikramor Vashniyam, Malvika Agni Mitra, Abhigyanam Shakuntalam. All his works deals with the king's marriage, love, administration, and success of the king. Now, Abhigyanam Shakuntalam, you might have seen the story also, that Shakuntala was a girl whom the Rishi and Muni have brought up. She lived to live in jungle. Dushyant was the king who got lost in the jungle. He married Shakuntala. When he returned, he forgot Shakuntala. And this is how, and up from Dushyant's son was Bharat, who became later the king of India. So this is how all the story is made by Kalidas. His works deals with the king's marriage, love, administration, and success of the king. The subject matter of Kalidas' work is love, nature, and beauty. So even Rabindranath Tagore, when he wrote poems, he wrote poem in the love of nature, beauty, and love. So all the poets, all the writers of India were great, has done great work. Their contribution has been great in Indian literature. We don't read it, we don't know much about it. So it's my request, students, when you go to the library, take the Indian writers book and just try to read it. You will find it interesting. Next is the Devghar temple. Now this Devghar temple is not located in Bihar. That Devghar when we go for Bolbam. This is somewhere else. The Vishnu temple at Devghar, because the Devghar temple in Bihar is with Shivji, Lord Shiva. But this Devghar temple is dedicated to Lord Vishnu. At Devghar was completely made of stone. No cement, nothing. It is made up of stone. It is about 112 kilometers from Jhansi in Uttar Pradesh. I purposely mentioned this line. Why? Because you do not get confused with Devghar of Bihar and Devghar of Uttar Pradesh. It is known as Dashva Avtara temple because the Dash Avtara Vishnu is shown in this temple. It was built in the beginning of the 6th century AD on high platform. Why hard platform? Because it is beside a river and river got flooded in the year 2 or 3 times. To protect it from the flood of the river, it was built on a high platform. The side of the cell and the platform was decorated with beautifully carved panels showing the different incarnation of Vishnu. Means the 10 avatar of Vishnu is shown in this temple. That is why it is also known as Dasa Avtara. So this is the end of your chapter, students. Please read it. Try to understand it. Read the chapter. Try to watch the video. If any doubt, please let me know. Thank you.